Good morning, it's Brett here, Lionheart84. It's the last day of May, 31st of May, so I thought I'd do a detailed garden tour and plant review, see what's happening, run through my various varieties, starting with this one. This is my Rouge de Bordeaux, looking quite good. I'm growing it as a standard so that I can maintain it from the decked area, looking fairly healthy. A little bit of black fly on it which I'll have to deal with, nothing that's going to be too much of a problem. I'm going to cover both my fruiting and my ornamentals today. So the two camellias here have obviously finished flowering now, but they've got plenty of fresh growth on them. Moving on to my small raised bed. This is mostly full of agapanthus, or perhaps it's pronounced agapanthus, I'm never too sure. Various varieties here. This one in the middle is not an agapanthus, it's a amarine, which I think is a cross between a nerine and an amaryllis. I've got my variegated rhododendron, which is just finishing flowering, with another agapanthus behind it. This is my new barked area, where I'm decided to have a few grow bags with a few bits and pieces. Everything was planted last weekend. I've got an aubergine or eggplant there, looks to be doing well. This is a baby plum tomato, the variety is Lucinda. This is a heritage tomato. This is a larger plum tomato called Cornu des Andes, or the Andes. This is a traditional variety, Alicante. It's nice to have a different mix of tomatoes. This is a giant beef tomato called Gigantomo, probably very similar to Marmande. And my final tomato is a standard sort of gardener's delight. So it should give me a small crop, don't eat large amount of tomatoes anyway. Decided to put in some sweet peas last week that I bought a very small pot for about 75 pence as it was in the clearance sale in the store. Just thought it'd be nice to have some colour on this fence. I did plant in winter, nothing to see at the moment. That's a Passiflora incarnata, which is a maypop, which is one of the edible ones. Now apparently they die down in winter back to the roots, so I'm still hopeful that we're going to see some growth there, but obviously there'll be a report towards the end of the June to see if anything comes up from the roots. That's one section of trellis done. I've put two sweet peppers in. I've got a yellow bell, and I've gone for a red one called New Ace, which apparently is quite sweet. Obviously remains to be seen what happens with those, so we'll keep an eye on things and progress in the next month or two. I've got my two chocolate vines planted in the ground now, seem to be doing well. That's a Kiwia quinata. As I said, I've put in two plants from different nursery sources because hopefully we'll get some fruits next year, because you need to have two distinctive genetic strains to get fruits, which are kind of like a purple sausage in appearance with a white flesh inside, which apparently is edible, although I don't suppose it's particularly tasty. Moving on to my figs, which seem to be doing very well in their pots. The one at the front growing very well because they're very hardy here is a brown turkey. The one behind is a panache or panache. That is the variegated fig variety. No fruits on these at the moment. This one here, I'm hoping to, once I get fruits on it, might get a fig expert to try and identify it for me. I bought it from a gentleman in London who originally bought some figs in from Cyprus, but he didn't know the varieties of his various figs he was selling, and apparently this one has a huge dark purple fig on it. In actual fact, there is a Braber on there, no doubt that'll drop off, but if not, I might get to see what it tastes like. But it's a very large fig, very sweet and juicy, but he didn't know the variety, so hopefully I can identify it at a later stage. The one behind it is meant to be a Neapolitana nigra. Again, not really going to know till it fruits, because he wasn't too sure of the varieties. It came from the same gentleman, and this is another one from him. And I had one of the figs from his garden. It was absolutely huge. It was the size of a tennis ball, and it was sort of a pale, juicy flesh with a light colour tinge to the fig itself. So we're probably not going to see any fruits this year, but quite optimistic. This variety is a Verdone, small plant that I bought from agroforestry, but again it's looking very healthy, so I think we're going to see a lot of growth this year. This pomegranate is a Mollard Elche, bought from the internet. It's about 6 feet tall. I'm going to keep all these trees restricted to about 6 feet, because that would be easily big enough for here. Moving to some of my persimmons at the back, we've got a khaki variety. It's a chocolatino. Seems to be doing quite well, and I think hidden away, and there's a couple of small flowers, but they look like male buds to me, so we'll see what happens. Now my bare root trees, this one seems to be coming into life. This is a Morris Burton, but they've been very, very late to bud out. The ones that were bought bare root in winter, I've not been very impressed with them. The one behind is a Hanafuyu, and really not feeling particularly optimistic about it. Even though the buds are swollen slightly, they don't seem to be coming out, so we may well not be getting anywhere with that one. This is a Nikita's Gift at the front. Again, it's leafed out quite nicely, but it does seem to have a lot of sort of discoloration and curling on the leaves, so it looks like it might have a virus, but as persimmons aren't particularly prone to them, I'm hoping that will grow through that phase. Now the one behind it, that's doing nicely. That's a Tam Cam, so I'm pleased with how that's going at the moment. It doesn't look as if it's got any health problems with it. Moving on to the next one, this is a regular Fuyu. Again, doing very nicely. These are all in their first year of growing here, so I'm very happy with how they're progressing. The second tallish persimmon at the back is a Rojo Brillant, that has actually got a flower bud on that at the back, so we may get a flower on that. I'm not expecting any fruits on them this year, because obviously it's their first year. There is a at the back you've got a pawpaw. This is the variety Prima. This flowered. It's in quite a large pot, which I obviously hope to try and continue to grow these in pots. That has flowered this year, and interestingly actually looks as if it's got some, well, it used to focus, but I think it's got some potential fruit set on it. I wouldn't expect anything to happen in the first year, but you know, it's possible. This is a much smaller pawpaw here. This is a KSU Atwood. It's probably only 2 years old, so we're a long way off any fruit production on that one. This persimmon variety here is Tipo. Certainly don't seem to be having troubles with the khaki varieties. They're the Asian ones are all doing very well. Now we've got this small one here which is budding out, is Mount Govila, which I believe is a hybrid between American and Asian persimmons, but seems to have made it through the bare root phase. We have another pawpaw here. This variety is Pennsylvania Golden. They're a bit late to leaf out these pawpaws, but this one seems to be coming out fine. This is, I believe, an American persimmon at the back. This is Garretson. Seem to have a smaller, thinner leaf than the Asian varieties, but again, very happy with how that one's coming out. Now this is my Giro, which is the one I did in a separate video yesterday, just to show you that it's got a flower open on it, which was my first ever persimmon flower, so I'm pleased to see that. Tucked away behind there is a Zukis, another one that seems not keen on leafing out at all. The buds don't look dead yet, but I would have expected them to have broken through into green. Certainly I'm having some troubles with the bare root persimmons. This variety here is meant to be a Proc. We will find out later on if it's accurately labelled. We do seem to have problems with labelling of varieties in this country. Unfortunately, behind it is a costata. Absolutely no sign of bud break or swelling or growth on that one. In fact, that's in winter. I could clearly see it died back, and I took about a foot off it because it was clearly dying back, and I wanted to try and stop the die back from getting any further, but don't know if we're successful with that at the moment. This is the first of my two Asian pears. This is a Shinseki. In actual fact, remarkably, despite the fact there's only plants in the container this winter and it's a sort of a 2-year-old plant, it's actually got a pear on it. I suspect that will probably drop off in June, which is when pears tend to drop their surplus fruit, and it is only the first year, so I'm not really expecting it to hold on to it, but I also won't take it off either. Okay, this one next to it is a Hong Li. That seems to be doing nicely. That's another Asian pear. Now I've got 4 jujubes here. I've got 2 Li and 2 Lang. They're all leafing out very nicely now. These are very late to leaf out, so they normally leaf out late May or June in the UK. Interestingly enough, one of the Langs has got what appears to be a sucker. Apparently they sucker quite freely from the roots in the pot. Now this is a grafted Lang, so that means the sucker is a seedling variety of some sort. So when it gets a little bit bigger, I'm hoping to be able to cut it off, and I think I'll grow it on its own, because you never know. That's how you sometimes discover a new variety with a better flavour. On the other hand, it might produce dreadful fruit, but it's probably worth keeping it to see what happens. This is another, this is my last fig here. This one's growing very nicely. This is a Goot Door. Then behind there I have my 2 mulberries. I've got the Moldovan Pink, which has got some lovely, strong, healthy looking growth coming on it. It's budding out at the top as well. It's about 5 feet tall. That's looking very, very healthy. The one next to it is my Illinois Everbearing, which has actually got quite a lot of fruit developed on it. I think they'll be very small if they grow to maturity, because they're obviously it's a very young plant at the moment and it's putting its energy into the growth. But I'm going to leave the mulberries on just to see what happens, because it might be worth. It'd be nice to taste one. You never know what might happen. Moving on to the side of the garden, I've got 2 cucumbers and a courgette here, or zucchini. I've got an F1 mini cucumber which is called Hannah, and the other one is called Fem Spot. The courgette in the middle is El Greco, and obviously in some countries that's known as zucchini. They're looking healthy at the moment. Then I've decided just to put in some small ornamental tubs. Got some lavenders to attract the bees and the butterflies, lobelias, geranium and some petunias. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, a garden that's just got plants and just got fruit plants and vegetables in it can be a bit boring. So it's nice to have some ornamental flowers as well. And got my pots of gladiolus here, seem to be doing quite well. So that's the right hand side of the garden, which I think is actually north facing, but I get a little sun on it all day because it's very open without any trees around it, so most of those plants will get sun most of the day. This fence actually faces south on this side, so this is well developed. I planted this all last year and everything's taken off here. This is a crenum at the front here. I think it's Crenum Powellii, and that should have flowers on it in the hopefully in about September, October. At the back there is a tree peony I grew from seeds. So at the back here is a tree peony which I grew from seeds. That's doing very nicely. This is my largest pawpaw. Now, this was planted last year. This has done really well. This is an unnamed variety, so I'm guessing it was grown from, this was originally a seedling plant, so I've no idea if it will ever fruit. I've got assorted lavenders here. This is my first pineapple guava. This is a small one. This is Aca Saloiana, also known as Fijoa or Fijoa. I think this variety is Mammoth, and in actual fact, I don't know if we can get on them, but there are some flower buds coming on it, which kind of surprises me because it's still very small. If that's the case, if I get buds on my larger one, then hopefully I'll be able to use the flowers to cross-pollinate on the larger one. I've got a butterfly bush here, a buddleia, covered in black fly. Nevertheless, it's still doing very well. I'll just keep an eye on it and spray it if the black fly start to weaken it too much. I've got a trumpet vine at the back here. Can't remember the Latin name at the moment. Campsis. It's Campsis, but I'll put the Latin names on the video anyway as I run the video through. Again, I've got more Agropanthus or Agapanthus at the front here. Buds coming up on some, should have a lovely display. Behind there's a bottle brush coming to flower now, which is absolutely stunning. That's purely for ornamental purposes. That's the first of my Eremias there, not doing very well. It's a foxtail lily. And next to it is a giant cardiocrenum lily, which seems to be coming out as well. So again, all looking very good. There's another named pawpaw variety here. This is sunflower, this particular variety. Looking healthy in the border. I guess they prefer to be in the borders because they are large, they are tap-rooted plants. I've got a bush pomegranate in front of it. That's an unnamed variety. May see some flower buds on it this year, but it's certainly leafing out very nicely. Behind it is a rare Mediterranean plant. I think it's Caesalpinia. This is a deciduous plant. Just borderline hardy in this country, but I've got it in a very sheltered position and it's flowing through the winter without any issues, so hoping to see some flowers on that this year. Now behind that, tucked away behind there, is another persimmon, but that's an unnamed variety. Again, I think that's a seedling growing plant, so it is a khaki, but I don't know if it'll ever have any worthwhile fruits on it. We'll have to wait and see. More lavenders at the front, more Agropanthus, with flower buds coming up in the middle, so we should get some plenty of Agropanthus flowers this year. And this is my larger pineapple guava, or Fijoa, or Fijoa, or Aca. Loads of flower buds coming out on this, so if I get any flowers on the other varieties, hopefully I'll be able to use them for cross-pollinating. With this, looks like it's going to be covered in flowers in another month's time. There's another foxtail lily Eremias behind there. No flowers on that one. The passiflora on the fence is an amethyst. That's not a fruiting variety or not edible fruits. That's just purely there for the flowers. In fact, when I bought it, it was mislabelled. It was meant to be an incarnata or maypop. But that's life. I've got 3 blueberries, a darrow, a Jersey, and I'll have to look at the label for the third one because I can't remember the variety. And that is a Chandler. Now these were specifically picked because they were meant to be early, mid and late season, but as you can see they're all covered in blueberries at the same time, so much for different season blueberries. More lavenders and Agropanthus along the front. I do like my ornamental plants, and obviously some quite large flower buds coming out on the Agropanthus now. Now there's another foxtail lily or Eremias, and this is the only one that's got flower buds on it. So should have a nice display to show in my next video at the end of June. Behind it is my kiwi. Now that variety is Actinidia arguta Issai. That's the small gooseberry shaped or gooseberry sized kiwi that's self-fertile. Now this is its second summer in the ground. No flowers on it this year, which wasn't no surprise really, but I think these flower on spurs that are probably 1 or 2 years old, so I expect this to be covered in flowers next year, but it's doing very, very well anyway. Another camellia. Now this is my Myers lemon, planted in the ground as an experiment. Survived last winter without any issues. Is suffering from yellow leaves, so a little bit of chlorosis. I have treated it with some Epsom salts, but I will give it some more sequestered iron in the next couple of weeks and see if we can get it to green up a bit better. This is, I don't know which variety of Daphne this is, but this is sort of like a perpetual flowering Daphne, and it flowered all of last summer and virtually all of winter, and the flowers have got a wonderful scent. Sadly we haven't got smelly vision on videos. Behind it is a variegated Chilean guava, an Agni. Hopefully we'll get some flowers on that this year. I've got a very small Chilean firebush there, and Nembothrium, very hard to grow, very slow growing. Apparently they like very poor soil, and I think they like it quite acidic, and I haven't really got enough acidic soil in here, so again I might have to use some sequestered iron on that, but it hasn't died yet, so I'm still optimistic it'll keep going. Down here are my Amaryllis belladonnas. Again, that's an autumn flowering bulb from the nerine family, and I have got several nerines in the border as well among the Agipanthus. And my final plant, which is flowering quite nicely, is my Abutilon. Again, that's for decorative purposes. So that's pretty much a full garden tour. I may have left a couple of plants out, but I think that's quite long enough. I'm not normally into making long videos, so there's a general look or appearance of the garden. Excuse the end bit, that's my next project, to deal with the fence at the end. That's my tree display. Very happy with how everything's looking. For anybody who's managed to suffer listening to the whole video, thank you very much for watching, and by all means click like, share the video if you want to, subscribe to my fairly new channel if you want to, and obviously if you want notifications or to see any future videos, then hit the bell, and that will let you know when I've posted some new videos. Pleasant day today, and I'm off to work. Thank you for watching. It's Lionheart 84 out.